The heavens may open over Switzerland and the rain pour down, but the worthy citizens of old Bern are well protected from storms above. Most of Bern's city life goes on in these arcades. There are 6 kilometres of them in all, the arteries of the old city. With Swiss self-mockery, the Bernese call them the pipe. Here, Bern displays its prosperity with self-assurance. The city was founded in 1191 and originally consisted of splendid wooden buildings reaching up out of the shadows of the neighbouring mountains. In 1405, all this medieval splendour was laid to waste by fire. The people of Bern rebuilt their homes on the charred foundations, this time in white sandstone. The historic heart of the city lies nestling in a loop of the river Aare, like a fossilised reptile. It was here, from its beginnings as a humble place of river boatmen and artisans, that Bern grew to become the federal capital of modern Switzerland. Like with most large cities, there's a story attached to the foundation of Bern. Legend has it that it was decided the new town would be named after the first animal killed by Berchtold, Duke of Zeringen, on a hunt. It turned out to be a bear. The bear became the symbol for the city on its coat of arms. At the entrance to the town, at a bend in the river Aare, bears are kept to this very day, out of nostalgia and respect for the city's history, and perhaps a human longing for a feeling of security. For all their sense of romance, the founders of Bern were very practical. Awkward nooks and crannies were avoided, and the streets were laid out parallel to the riverbed. They're nearly as wide as motorways. On these wide avenues, the plots the houses stand on are narrow-fronted, but extend far back from the street. There are no front gardens, but light and space for relaxation are provided instead by enchanting inner courtyards. On a shopping trip to the arcades, visitors discover just how far back the houses go. It's a long way from one arcade, under the houses, through to the next one. For hundreds of years, the Marktgasse has been the centre of Old Bern. Here, in the middle of the street, is one of the city's 11 fountains. This is dedicated to Berchtold von Zeringen, the city's founding father. A stone's throw from here is another gem of medieval craftsmanship, the 16th century clock tower. When the clock strikes the full hour, a little performance attracts onlookers. The locals joke that the tower was only built for the tourists. But without the bells and the clock, the world would be a poorer place. After all, it was here in the Kramgasse that Albert Einstein developed his theory of relativity. The physicists' rooms are now a museum open to the public. For all their simplicity, you can feel the power of the genius once at work here. The Junkerngasse, one of Bern's most beautiful streets, where modest facades conceal magnificent interiors. This is the Wattenwil House, built in 1446. It now belongs to the Swiss Confederation and is popular for use at public occasions. The Erlacher Hof, built in 1746 for a wealthy burgher, is particularly impressive. Since 1832, the building has housed the city council, the splendour of the architecture tempered by the pragmatism of politics. The people of Bern love the cathedral terrace and call it their communal living room. But as so often, horror lurks just around the corner from beauty. It's not for nothing that the steep drop at the end of the terrace is called the Wall of Death. Countless unhappy people have hurled themselves from it. The main portal of the cathedral is impressive, a gem of late Gothic sculpture, featuring a thought-provoking relief of the Day of Judgment. Like every town, Bern has its quiet corners too. Only the Bernese are to be seen in the charming Postgasse, for example, with its pubs and artists' cafes. Finally, another part of town with a peaceful, intimate atmosphere. To the east of the clock tower, the tourists follow in the footsteps of the Middle Ages. But to the west are the centres of power in the modern world: the government, the banks, temples of consumerism. And even here, in the midst of the heavy traffic, there are bright splashes of the old folk art, like the ogre on the fountain here devouring a small boy, a reminder of the stories, the fairy tales and legends of this city. Bern City Hall is also the seat of the cantonal government. In the Parliament building, an enormous painting reminds members of the roots of Europe's oldest democracy and their own unbroken link with tradition. The legend of William Tell and his bravery, and the oath taken on the Rütli mountain which founded the Swiss Confederation. There's a connection somewhere there with the capital city, Bern, its understated quiet charm, its traditions, its history. And it would hardly be a coincidence if, when in search of times past, you found yourself in Bern.